My deepest anticipation is that by discussing leadership from an interreligious perspective, we're going to gain a deeper sense of the commonality of leadership and a greater openness to working across traditions as one larger body working towards serving all our communities simultaneously.
Islam says, let there be no compulsion in religion. That you shouldn't try to make anyone to believe to each is a goal, each is a way, and that we should strive together as if in a race towards all that is good, that we shouldn't be trying to hold anyone back, that we should encourage the Christian, the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Jew. We should encourage them to be the best in terms of their faith and their religion, as I strive to be the best Muslim I can be. And then God brings us together. And so as we're gathering here with the Elijah Institute, as we're talking about religious leadership, it's not a Jewish rabbi, it's not an imam, it's not a Christian priest that called us together. In my opinion, it's God that calls us together to have this conversation so that we can see not only the commonalities in our faith, but also have a discussion about the differences and see that these differences are there to get us to know one another and get us to know ourselves and our religions in a deeper sense.
In relation to the absolute, in relation to Brahman, all words, all symbols, and I would say all theologies fall short. So if I have, from a Vedantic standpoint, a deep sense of the limits of my own formulations, the limits of my thoughts, the limits of my theologies, then this naturally opens me up to the insights and the teachings of the other. It is only if I claim absoluteness for my own teachings, my own formulation, my own definition, that I am closed to being instructed, to learning from the other. But when I have a sense of the limits of my own understanding, even though I'm committed to it, but I'm committed with a sense of its limits, then I think I can be open to the wisdom of the other. I can be open to learning and meaningfully being enriched by my encounter with the other.
As I read the Quran, I see very clearly that the Quran acknowledges that religious diversity is part of the divine plan. The Quran says that to every nation, God has given a shara, or a sharia, and a minhaj, a way of life. And that God, if God had wanted to, he could have created us all in one religion and indeed in one ethnicity, but that he made us in different nations and tribes for a few reasons. He says that he has created us in this diversity in order that we might come to know one another. And so I see this coming to know one another in a very reverent and respectful way. I see this as a divine command.
As an interfaith activist, I am seeking to demonstrate that as one deeply rooted in the Orthodox Jewish tradition, interfaith engagement is not only feasible, but an imperative within the context we live in and in terms of the world at large and in terms of the well-being of our own community. So in that sense, I suppose I see myself as giving some form of inspiration, some kind of personification of direction.
And so the passage that we were talking about over dinner last night is this Quranic passage where it says, addresses the Christians and the Jews quite specifically in saying, Ya Ahl al-Kitab, O peoples of the book, Lastum ala shay, that you stand upon nothing until you raise up the Torah and the Gospels and that which has been revealed to you from your Lord. And so as a Muslim reader of that text, I see that one of my primary obligations as the Muslim brother of my Christian and Jewish friends, and I think this extends to other religions whose prophets and whose books are not named specifically in the Quran, but whose existence is quite generally, but quite clearly articulated in the Quran, that my job is to encourage my Jewish friends to be better Jews and to really study that which has been given to them, and to share what they find there with me as their Muslim brother.
We try to talk to each other. Establishment of religion can be a beautiful means of cooperation. It can be also a site of conflict that will be very tragic. It depends on the leadership. And if this coming together will build up the understanding that there is no need to fight, there's enough space for all of us, and there's one God in which we believe, and to pray to Him, prayer is not taking away from anybody else.
And so, as a Muslim, then, I see my primary role in these interfaith gatherings is to affirm and to encourage my Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Baha'i friends to better manifest, to better understand, to better illumine for others that which they believe God has given them. And I think this is a sacred obligation. And as I encourage them to do so, they give me the opportunity to fulfill this divine command of coming to know them. You know, that as even there was a Sufi sheikh who was with us last night who quoted this other Quranic verse, and he said, you know, the Quran did not say that I created you diversely in all of these nations and tribes so that you fight each other, so that you dominate each other, so that you strip one another of your human rights, but that so you might come to know one another. And so as I come to know you, and as I come to know my brothers and sisters in other traditions, I come to know a little bit more fully God's will for us here, and the mystery of God's self-disclosure to every nation and tribe in their own language and in their own way.
In my opinion, you can't make a model for every place in the world. For example, we are living in the Middle East. It's not the same thing who live in Europe and other places. The challenge, the agenda is different, and we have to take in our account that in every dialogue you have to find the common language between the parties, and you can't take and copy this system or this model for other places, and you have to be sensitive with the people who are participating in every dialogue. That's what
Shanti, Sarvam Shanti, Shantireva Shanti, Sama Shanti Redhi, Om Shanti. Tudbene avarala sojai, Tatgur Sukha Vikharya.
Buddha was not a Buddhist, you know. Jesus Christ was not a Christian. Muhammad was not the Muslims. That's we make later on. We make Buddha Buddhists, Jesus Christ Christians, Muhammad Muslims, and then we fight. Very sad. They are not. They are like the sun, the moon. They are like the doctors. In their eyes, we are all brothers, sisters. We are all their children. Huh? So, if we sincerely, as a human being, study the teachings of Buddha or Jesus Christ, which is full of compassion, full of love, full of goodwill, not only goodwill, compassion for Buddhists or a particular group, for whole humanity. And that is the only way through studying and application of the teachings of compassion, loving kindness, universal love, we can overcome many of our problem, difficulties we are facing, and we can have a new life of divinity, where we can live celebrating